Ayers Reef, Ayers Dugout, Second Chain Islands right here on Ayers Point. All around the shell area there, right up around Fish Camp, all the way over to Rattlesnake Point and Rattlesnake Island area, Ayers Island. All those areas there across that. Just be careful when you do run across there if you're not aware. Big shell bar reef that's right through here. So if you try to run across this particular area, you will put yourself in a little bit of prop issue, if not to mention your hull as well, especially with the low tides that we've been having here over the last several weeks. The trend continues. Again, the heat continues. Water temps have risen over time just because of the heat and everything. It's just part of it. It's affected the fishing from this standpoint of how often we're getting our bites thrown while we're throwing these artificials. Best opportunities that we've had has been primarily early mornings in and around shell beds and shell bars. If you got some hard packed sand and some grass areas that's maybe mixed in with that, that even makes that opportunity that much better in and around to these types of areas here. You can get out and wade these around the Second Chain Island. It's not a problem. Just get you a little area there and just kind of work the deeper edges of these reefs that are in here, both around the Second Chain and here on the Ayers Reef itself. And you can get on the leeward side or the windward side. I would suggest if you've got enough people, where you maybe got 4 or 5 people, that you can split them up and put a couple on the windward side and put a couple on the leeward side and see where the opportunities mostly are coming from. Now that said, the baits that we've been continuing to throw, we've been in the transition days. Now we're fixing to be in a brand new moon here over the next 6 to 8 days. So in and around that time frame, it's going to be some really good opportunities, or at least there should be anyway. But what we've been throwing in around these things, we've been throwing our down south in both the original and the burner size, depending on what our water clarity and stuff is, whether we throw a darker or lighter bait. Again, still using a 16th ounce jig head to work those baits, since our bites have been pretty light and then just been super thumping it aggressive. We want that lighter jig head on there to allow that bait to flow through that water column much easier and longer, to give us more opportunities for those fish to eat. The knock and tail has been pretty much consistent for it throughout the spring and summer, and it still continue to be rogue, heavy metal, and greenbacks have been the 3 favorite in the 3 most productive for us as we've gone through this summertime, and even up until right now. And then, of course, the Marker 54 jerk shrimp have been good, especially in the brown version. It's been pretty productive for us. Top water bite's been okay, but again, it's been super early. If you're going to get on the water before that sun pops, and that's going to be your best opportunity to throw your top water to get some action off of that. Just continue to work your edges. Majors and minors are continue to be a thing every time that you're on the water. And then, of course, pay attention to what your tides are, because we're having, depending on what body of water you're fishing, your tides are going to be out early and back later. And if you're on the other end, close to the ship channel, it's going to be just the opposite. So just make sure that you pay attention to those types of things. That's going to help your day to be productive. Here around Mud Island on the tip, that south end tip is closest to Liddy Ann. Great potholes that are all out in this area here. Got edges that are out there. You've got grass that's out there. You got a little hard packed stuff. Then you get on this other side here, you got a nice little edge that comes down here all the way down in front of mud. Then it kind of spreads out just a little bit, and you can work it around here and get into the flat or the flatter areas that are here around in the front half of mud. You got, again, nice hard packed sand. You've got grass. Everything that you need that's out here. You've got an edge that's a little further out as you work and wade around this particular area here. So these were lots of great opportunities that have come from us over the last week or so. A bit longer. From time to time we'll hit these areas like this, especially early morning like this on that hard packed sand. You got those guts and edges and drops that are out there. We've found some decent trout that's been holding in and around those. With our tides being out that we have had, fishing the edge up around the grass line that's closer to the shore, we've had opportunities of some redfish in and around that. An occasional flounder pulled out. Those are always a great extra bonus fish. But we've come across some of those as well. Just find you a location that you can get about 200-300 yards of wading in front of you, and just kind of go to work with them. Again, the bites has not been super great. Well, like I said, when we've had our opportunities, we've had multiple opportunities in a short time frame. So just kind of take that into account when you're working these particular areas like this, whether it be here or down St. Joe somewhere or whatever. Your bite frames are going to be short. Those fish, they're not super hungry. They're not wanting to eat a whole lot just because of the water temps So kind of just make sure that you're patient with this. That's why the lighter jig heads come into play right here. So it gives those fish a little bit longer to look at that fish that you may have an opportunity to catch. You can come all the way down to Blind Pass if you wish, down close to the ranch house and fish and all that same type of structure. Find you some bait that's working up and down these particular areas. See what your tides are doing, what kind of movement you got, whether you got an incoming or outgoing, how much that water's going to pick up or drop. And again, make sure that the majors and minors are really part of your fishing day, especially right now, as tough as it's been. Having that in your back pocket and kind of pointing your fishing time frame around that has been very productive for us. Again, our down south in multiple different flavors, whether it be the original burner shad. Probably here as this new moon cranks up that we will throw in a supermodel as well to see if that's kind of helps with our bite as well. Maybe they want something just a little bit bigger profile with the new moon that's coming. And then again, I can tell, same 3 flavors, Rogue, Heavy Metal, Greenback have been very good for us. Every once in a while, white ice in there in the 4-inch version can be productive for you. Just kind of play with that and see. Again, kind of depends on what our water clarity is, depending on where you're fishing, especially around here on mud, because it can get dirtied up sometimes. And of course, you get a clean side as well. So anyhow, and then of course, Mark 54 has been good. Mirror lures, Little Johns have been pretty good for us. When that bite maybe have slowed down, we put that really erratic darting bait, and it kind of helps pick you up an extra few bites here or there. So again, take all that stuff into consideration as you work these areas. Patience, 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 patience. Over here, St. Charles Bay, all the way from this point right here, around from East Pocket, all the way up here, down the shoreline, all the way up toward Egg Point, that whole shoreline there. You've got tremendous amount of opportunity in there. You got the little cove area that's down here on the end of this as you head toward Egg. Of course, if you fished Egg very much, whether you got the southeast breeze blowing into the shore, you get the backside of it, and you can work down those some spectacular potholes in and around all that particular area there as you work those little shoreline areas, the cove, all the way down to Boy Scout camp. The shoreline, you've got miles and miles and miles of tremendous amount of shoreline and great structure that's in these areas like that. So just kind of get you on a stretch where you, again, what I mentioned earlier, if you got about a stretch of land there that you can get 300 to 400 yard weight in, you're going to find and locate you some fish in and up and down that area, especially if you've got plenty of bait working up and down these shorelines, which a lot of this stuff has been just fine bait-wise. A lot of that bait's kind of hanging up on those taller edges of these little grass beds and reefs, hanging out in some of these areas. So what happens is too, with the lower tides that we've had, especially up here in St. Charles, some of these flats that are shoreline-wise, it's been, that are, thigh deep, maybe knee deep. You can take those a long way out now when that happens there. So it gives you a little bit more opportunity, a little bit more water to fish, whether it be up close to the shoreline if you want to throw a top water up in there, if you want to slide out a couple of 100 yards and fish it with that thigh to waist deep water and see if those fish have pushed off a little bit deeper. And that's always a great possibility, especially now with the water temps of what we have starting out the way that the day is. Over here on Cowship, this shoreline that's here, very hard-packed area. You've got a nice little edge that you can work that. Up and down here on this shoreline here, on this particular point, Ernest Point. Then you can come around where the Big Tree Road is. It's got the shell beds that the Texas Parks and Wildlife put in, CCA put in years ago back here around all that oyster bed and farming area that's back in here. All that's been really good waiting for us. Hard packed, sand that's around it. You've got shoreline edge. It's got grass on that. You've got the oyster shell in the reefs that are in that. So all great structure there. You just kind of work your way in and around that. So just make sure you got on a good pair of boots if you're going to do that area, because it's big reefs that are sticking out in there, so you can trip yourself up. But anyway, those areas like that in here in St. Charles Bay, or even out on the front in Aransas, or whatever bay that you really want to fish, anything that's around hard-packed sand, shell, grass, you're going to give yourself an opportunity, especially if you got a little bit more deeper water that's adjacent to that particular area. Again, top water's early. Same thing with our baits as our down souths we've been throwing. Got multiple different flavors, checking what your water clarity is, majors and minors, all the above, same baits that I mentioned in the other 2 videos. So that just kind of moves and transpires across these other spots in these areas like that. So don't be afraid to throw something, try something else. Just keep the profile correct, and you'll have yourself maybe some unexpected opportunities.